सुमित जी
जी सर।
शुरू किए थे?
हाँ सर, शुरू करते हैं।
तो शुरू कर दीजिए।
Right. I welcome all the members of Mahanagar Tax Bar Association, other professionals, colleagues who have joined, who will be joining to today's webinar on a very important topic, recent changes under GST. And I believe that in this period of lockdown, while we have gone close to yoga and many other things, our families, but perhaps we have also got far away from the certain changes that have come in. Various notification circulars, the some of them very important. And now it is we are in the time when many dates have actually many relaxations that were provided. The time has already expired, so we are running on late fees, especially those with whose turnover is more than 5 crores. In that context, the today's topic is very relevant, and Asta ji has prepared a very informative presentation on this topic. I request our senior member, past president, Shri Sunil Goyal ji, to kindly start this topic and give us wisdom on it.
थैंक यू सेक्रेटरी साहब। आज का टॉपिक के लिए मुझे आज सुमित जी ने अभी मुझे फोन करके बताया इंट्रोड्यूस करने के लिए, तो थोड़ा सा इसमें ब्रीफ। आस्था जी इसके अंदर बहुत बढ़िया इन्होंने प्रेजेंटेशन बनाई है, सुमित जी ने मुझे कम्युनिकेट किया था। तो इसके अंदर देखिए, मार्च 21, 22, 24, 25 मार्च से हमारा लॉकडाउन चालू हुआ है। 21 मार्च से 30 जून तक 50 नोटिफिकेशन गवर्नमेंट नहीं सो रही है। गवर्नमेंट ने 50 नोटिफिकेशन सिर्फ नोटिफिकेशन टैक्स के संबंध में निकाले, सेंट्रल टैक्स के, और 3 नोटिफिकेशन रेट के संबंध में निकाले हैं। 10 सर्कुलर, 1 ऑर्डर। तो आप ये सोच लीजिए कि गवर्नमेंट सो नहीं रही है, टैक्स पेयर का पूरा ध्यान रख रही है, और इतने नोटिफिकेशन निकालना, और उसको हम प्रोफेशनल को उसमें बिजी भी रखा हुआ उन्होंने। इसमें 50 में से 22 नोटिफिकेशन तो आपके सिर्फ जीएसटी रिटर्न रिलेटेड फीस डेट एक्सटेंशन के हैं। उसके अलावा एनुअल रिटर्न का एक्सटेंशन की डेट है, ई इनवॉइसिंग की डेट के एक्सटेंशन है, आधार कार्ड से लिंक उसकी की डेट के संबंध में है। दूसरा, फाइनेंस एक्ट जो बजट आया था, फाइनेंस एक्ट पास हुआ, उसके बाद उसके इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जो 30 जून से होना है, उसके नोटिफिकेशंस हैं। जीएसटीआर 3B का भरने के एसएमएस का नोटिफिकेशन है। सर्कुलर्स रिगार्डिंग रिफंड, रेमुनरेशन, डायरेक्टर रेमुनरेशन, बहुत डिस्प्यूट है हमारा। पिछली बार इसमें वेबिनार भी हुई है डायरेक्टर रेमुनरेशन के ऊपर, और गवर्नमेंट ने इसको क्लैरिफाई भी कर दिया है। प्लस एक जो सबसे ज्यादा था, रिवोकेशन ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन, जो एप्लीकेशन का रजिस्ट्रेशन का है, इसके संबंध में इन्होंने टोटल 10 सर्कुलर और 1 ऑर्डर, 3 रेट और 50 नोटिफिकेशन निकाले हैं, जिसका विस्तृत विवरण आपका आस्था जी देंगी प्रेजेंटेशन के साथ। तो आपको पूरा ब्रीफ मिल जाएगा कि इन 3 महीनों में आपने क्या पढ़ा है, और आस्था जी आपको 1.5 घंटे में पूरी डिटेल प्रेजेंटेशन से आपको उन सबके बारे में समझाएंगे। थैंक यू जी।
Thank you, sir. Asta ji, over to you. Please take us with your presentation.
Okay. Good evening to all.
Let me first introduce Asta ji. Asta ji is a young, energetic member, as you can see, and she was working with E&Y in the risk advisory team, and has recently started her own practice in Delhi. So welcome, Asta ji, and over to you.
Thank you, Sumit ji. Good evening to all the respected members of the Mahanagar Tax Bar Association and professionals who are viewing this stream. Before I start my presentation, I would like to convey my special thanks to Sumit ji for giving me this such a wonderful opportunity to speak at such a esteemed forum. And I had heard a lot about this forum through Sumit ji only. So I would like to say kudos to the team of Mahanagar Taxpayer Association that you are making such good use of this adverse times and, you know, organizing webinars to keep all the members and all the professionals updated on the latest developments that are taking place in different stream. Also, I would like to thank Sunil ji for giving such a brief description. आपने तो पूरा मतलब topic ही सारा आपने cover ही कर लिया within 5 minutes. So thank you for giving such a good, you know, summary of all the changes that have taken place. And without any further ado, I will just share my screen. Yeah. My participant screen sharing is not enabled. Can you just work on that? Yes.
Try
it's
now,
working.
please.
Yes, it's working now. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, great. So within the time limit that has been granted to me, as Sunil ji put up that there are more than 50 notifications, circulars and orders that have come. So my first priority would be to cover all the notification circulars and orders that have been released in the period June. In fact, in July also, day before yesterday, we had another notification that has come up. So if you look at this particular slide, this gives a bird's eye view of the 15 notifications that have come up in the period June and July. Then there were 3 circulars that came in the month of June. Then there was this 48th GST Council meeting that took place on 12th June 2020. And also there is a removal of difficulty order that came recently on 25th June itself. So what I'll do is I will not only tell the content of these notifications, I will go and link them back with the original principal notifications that had come in, so that everybody who's attending this webinar gets a complete picture. I will give a brief background also and then connect it back to whatever changes have taken place so that it's easier to understand. So without any further ado, let's begin. So first I'll be covering the highlights of the 40th GST Council meeting, which took place on 12th June 2020. So just to refresh your memory, there were 3 major issues that were covered by the 40th GST Council. The first was the due date for filing of the form GSTR 3B. For all the taxpayers whose turnover was less than rupees 5 crore, there was a relief in the form of extended deadlines. The second issue that was proposed by the GST Council was the conditional waiver of the late fees associated with the form GSTR 3B. And the third issue that the GST Council meeting addressed was the conditional restoration of the cancelled registrations of registered persons. So now in the coming slides, I'll be covering these 3 agendas first, because right after the 40th GST Council meeting, a plethora of notifications were released in the last week, which addressed each and every one of these issues. So first, let's start with the due date of filing of the form GSTR 3B. Form notification 51 and 52, which was released on 24 June 2020, basically addresses this issue of due date of filing of the form GSTR 3B. The first category of taxpayers that this form covered was those taxpayers whose turnover exceeded rupees 5 crores in the preceding financial year. Now, if you look at this table basically gives an idea of whatever dates that have been extended. Now, before I go on explaining what are the new due dates, I would like to clarify one thing first. So if you look at this preceding financial year, this is basically, it will vary depending upon which month's return it is being filed. So for the month of Feb and March, the preceding financial year would be 18-19, for which the turnover of rupees 5 crores is to be seen. And April onwards, the preceding financial will be 19-20, for the purpose of which the turnover of rupees 5 crores is to be considered. Now let's look at the due dates. If you look at the column number 2, This is basically the due date which was originally given under section 39. Then, just to refresh your memory a little, on 3rd April, a plethora of notifications were released which had given new deadlines for the first time after the coronavirus pandemic, which gave the extended deadlines. So, for the month of Feb to April, what they had done was they had added 15 days to the initial due date and given the new deadlines for filing of the Form GSTR 3B. Now, it's very important to note that if the returns for these months were filed on by these particular dates, then there was no interest. Okay. Later on, just for the sake of clarification, the notifications clarified that if the taxpayer has failed to file the return by these due dates, but has managed to file the return by 24th June 2020, then in that case, a reduced interest rate of 9% will be levied. Further, if the taxpayer again has failed to file the return by 24th June 2020 and files the returns after that, then the original interest rate of 18% will be levied. The benefit that was given in the form of reduced interest rate was valid only till 24th June 2020. So to give you a very small example, if Mr. A wants to file his return for March 2020, if he had filed his return by 1st May 2020, then there was no interest. If he filed his return on 20th June 2020, then the interest between 6th May to 20th June would be levied at 9%. And let's say now he files his return on today, let's say 3rd July, then in that case, the interest calculation would be from 6th May to 24th June, the interest rate will be calculated at 9%. And from 25th June to 3rd July, which is the actual date of filing of the Form GSTR 3B, would be 18%. For the month of May, the due date was given as 27th June. For the purpose of reduced interest rates, no due date has been given till now. I doubt if any new notification will come in this place. For the months of June and July, no clarification has been given by any of the notifications. So in order to safeguard ourselves and our clients, it's always better to propose them to stick to the original deadlines, which was as per section 39. I have also given a reference to the previous notifications 31 and 32, which were released on 3rd April 2020. That was the first time when the deadlines were announced. Now this was the additional information that was given by notification 51 and 52. Let's move further. Now, using this notification 51 and 52, now I will be addressing the deadlines for those category of taxpayers whose turnover is less than equal to rupees 5 crore. So for such category of taxpayers, if they were required to file their Form GSTR 3B, there was a basis defined by the CBIC, on the basis of which there was separate set of deadlines defined for such category of taxpayers whose turnover was up to rupees 5 crore. So that basis was on the principal place of business. So wherever the principal place of business of the taxpayer is located, depending upon that, the set of dates will be followed. The principal place of business was divided on, there were like two set of states that were defined by the CBIC. So if you look at the map of India here, I have separately colored those two set of states. The first, the orange colored state, and the next, the blue colored state. So in the orange colored states, there's a separate set of deadlines for those assessees whose turnover is less than equal to 5 crore. And for the blue colored states and the union territories of Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar Islands, there's a separate set of deadlines. I've also created an annexure here for better clarity, so one can refer to it. Now, depending upon the principal place of business, we can go on to the dates for filing of the Form GSTR 3B for those taxpayers whose turnover is less than equal to rupees 5 crore. We will be referring to notification 51, 52 and 54 released on 24th June 2020. And the first category that I'll be covering is the blue states. The blue states basically comprised of some of your western states, the southern states, and the UT of Andaman Nicobar Island and Lakshadweep. So for such taxpayers, if you look at the column number 2, this was the original date. And column number 3 gives the date up to which the return is filed without any interest. Column number 4 gives the interest rate of 9% will be levied if the return is filed up to 30th September for the months from Feb to July. And even if 30th September, if the return is not been filed, then the original interest rate of 18% will be levied. So I will again start with an example. Now, Mr. A wants to file his return for the month of May 2020, and his principal place of business, let's say, is in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so he will be falling in this blue category. So if he files the return by 10th September 2020, then in that case, there will be no interest, right? But if he files his return on 25th September 2020, then between 13th to 25th September, an interest rate of 9% will be levied, right? The third category is in case he still fails to file his return by 30th September 2020 and eventually files it on, let's say, 18th October 2020, then the interest calculation will be as such. From 13th to 30th September, the interest rate of 9% will be levied. And from 1st October to 18th October, which is the actual date of filing of return, the original interest rate of 18% will be levied. So these are the new due dates that have been defined. They have been defined till the month of August 2020. If you look at this left corner here, this gives a reference to the old notification. So this principle of giving staggered dates depending upon the principal place of business was already done in the month of April. The only change that has come has the new deadlines for filing of the return. So these basically previous notifications give the reference to this basis of division. Now let's move on to the second set of states, which is the orange color, which also includes our very own Delhi and NCR. So in these set of states, the deadline is a little delayed by few days. I will directly go on to the example. So if Mr. A is located in Haryana, right, and his turnover is less than or equal to rupees 5 crore, and he wants to file his return for the month of May 2020, then if he files his return by 11 September 2020, there will be no interest. But if he files his return up to 17 September, then in that case, from the period 16 to 17 September, the interest rate of 9% will be levied. If he fails to file his return by 30th September 2020, but goes on to file his return on, let's say, 15th October 2020, then the interest calculation will be like this. From 16th September to 30th September, the interest rate of 9% will be levied. From 1st October to 15th October, which is the actual date of filing of the return, the interest rate of 18% will be levied. That's how the interest will be calculated. Again, for this set of taxpayers, the due dates have been given up till the month of August 2020. So the last date is basically 3rd October 2020. Now we will move on to the deadlines related to GSTR 1. So notification 53, which was released on 24th June 2020, that basically gave the deadlines related to Form GSTR 1. So for all the taxpayers who have opted to file monthly GSTR 1 for the period March to June 2020, these are the new due dates without any late fees. If these due dates are not met, if the return is not filed as per these due dates, then a late fee of rupees 25 per day will be levied after when the return is filed after these due dates. So again, quick example. For the month of May 2020, if Mr. A wants to file his return, if he does it by 20th July 2020, then there is no late fees. But if he files it by 12th August 2020, then there'll be a late fees from 29 July 2020 to 12th August 2020 at the rate of rupees 25. There was a similar deadline released for those taxpayers who had opted for quarterly filing of GSTR 1. So they have covered 2 quarters, Jan to March 2020, which is your quarter 4 1920, and April to June 2020, which is your quarter 1 2021. So these are the dates which are required to be followed if no late fees, if the taxpayer does not want to incur any late fees. And if it is filed after these due dates, there is again a late fee of rupees 25 per day. So again, let's talk about maybe Jan to March quarter. There is Mr. A. If he files his return by 15 July 2020, there is no late fees at all. But if he goes on to file his return on, let's say, 8th August 2020, then there'll be a late fee of rupees 25 per day from 18 July 2020 to 8 August 2020, which is your actual date of filing of the form GSTR1 for that particular quarter. I'm hearing someone's mic in my, can you please request you to please mute your mic so that it's audible to everybody. Okay, and now let's go on further. For, there's another clarification provided in this notification 53. If your GSTR1 is nil, that is, there is no outward supply mentioned in your form GSTR1, then in that case, the late fee will be reduced to rupees 10 per day. It has not been totally waived off. There is only a reduction from rupees 25 to rupees 10 per day. Conditions will remain the same. There's another clarification provided in this notification. Okay. Next, we will go on to notification 52 and 57. With this notification, I'll be addressing the second issue of the GST Council meeting regarding the clarification on the late fees. In the previous slides, we've already covered the first issue that was taken up by the GST Council meeting regarding the due dates of Form GSTR 3B and GSTR 1. Now we'll be covering the topic related to late fees. So first I will cover the contents of the notification 52 that was released on 24 June 2020. So if there was any GSTR 3B, which was belonging to the tax period, July 2017 to January 2020, right? And it was filed, it will be filed eventually between July 2020 to 30th September 2020. So this is how the late fees will be computed. If it is a nil return, then there shall be no late fees, right? But if it is not a nil return, then the maximum late fees that will be leviable would be rupees 250. This is like a one-time opportunity for all those taxpayers who have not filed their returns between the period July 17 to January 20, and they can file their returns between July 20 to September 2020 by complying, and this will be the late fees that will be given to them. Then let's talk about notification 57/2020, which was released on 30th June 2020. For this is for those taxpayers with the tax period mentioned here is between Feb 2020 to July 2020. In my previous slides, I have already explained you the deadlines that have been announced for the period between Feb 2020 and July 2020. And the clarification regarding late fees for these particular tax periods is that if the return is filed after the due dates that have been explained in the previous slides, but up to 30th September 2020, then the condition regarding levy of the late fees will remain the same. That is, if these returns were nil, then in that case, the late fees become nil. And if the return is not nil, then the maximum late fees that will be levied would be rupees 250. So this was the clarification that was given with regard to the levy of the late fees via these two notifications 52 and 57. With this, we come to end of the second issue that was taken up by the GST Council meeting held on 12th June. In my next slide, we will be covering the third issue of the GST Council meeting regarding the restoration of the cancelled registration. So on 25th June 2020, the first removal of difficulty order, order number 1, was released for 2020 by the CBIC. Before I explain the content of these orders, I would like to give you a brief background so that you'll be able to understand the context of this particular order. If we refer the provisions of section 29 of the CGST Act 2017, it basically talks about the conditions wherein the registration of a certain taxpayer will be cancelled. Two of the conditions is that if no GST return has been filed for a composition dealer for at least 3 consecutive tax periods. And for other than composition dealers, if the return is not filed for 6 consecutive months, then this becomes a positive case for cancellation of the GST registration by a proper officer. But if we go on to the section 169(2), it states that the cancellation of registration cannot take place by the proper officer without giving any formal communication with regard to cancellation of the registration, either on the registered mail or on the GST portal, and giving the reason of the cancellation of the registration. After that, if we look at the provision of section 30, the proper officer can file the cancellation order of the registration. And in order to revoke that cancellation, the aggrieved registered person has an option to file an application for revocation of the cancellation of registration within a period of 30 days from this such cancellation order. Now, this is what the law had stated. But the ground reality was very different from what the law had stated. There were a lot of aggrieved taxpayers who were facing a lot of issue that, in spite of taking corrective actions in the form of, filing the returns that they had missed to file and filing the application within the stipulated time period of 30 days, in spite of doing all these corrective actions, their registration was not being restored. So in order to address this particular concern of such aggrieved taxpayers, a one-time golden opportunity has been given by this removal of difficulty order. So let's look at the contents of this order. So for all the cancellation orders that have been passed up to 12th June 2020, in that case, the aggrieved registered person has an option of filing the application of revocation within 30 days starting from the 31st August 2020. So basically these 30 days now will begin from 31st August 2020, irrespective of the fact your order was received at any XYZ date before 12th June 2020. So this was like a one-time relief given to all the those aggrieved registered persons whose registration had been cancelled. They were trying to, restore the cancellation. Now they have been given a one-time opportunity to do so and ample time to apply to take the corrective actions and get their revoked cancellation restored. This was the third agenda item of the GST Council meeting. Now with this particular slide, I have covered all the three agenda items of the GST Council. And now we will move on to other relevant notifications. Notification 50 was released on 24th June 2020. Now this notification basically dealt with the certain section of the composition levy. So before I explain you what is the content of this notification and how is it relevant, let's go back a little in the past and I'll give you a brief history. If we recall the provisions of section 10.1 and 10.2 of the CGST Act, which relates to the composition levy, so any person who wishes to pay a reduced tax rate under the composition levy, that registered person has to fulfill these conditions. These conditions namely being that the turnover of such person should be rupees 1.5 crore in the preceding financial year. This limit was increased from 50 lakhs wide notification 14 on 7th March 2019. Earlier it was 50 lakhs, now it has become 1.5 crore. Second, there should be no interstate supplies. That is, this registered person should be dealing only with intrastate supplies. He should not be involved in giving exempt supplies. This fourth condition is very important. This composition levy under section 10.1 and 10.2 deals only for those registered persons who are engaged in supplying of goods. So if you are supplying services, you can earlier you were not allowed to seek refuge under section 10.1 and 10.2 for the purpose of composition levy. The only exception to the services was the service mentioned under para 6b of the schedule 2 to the act, which is basically the composite supply in the form of goods and services supplied in relation to foods and drinks other than alcohol for human consumption. So only that was the service that was covered under composition levy. Other than that service, only goods were covered under composition levy under section 10.1 and 10.2. And another condition was that the supply should take place through an e-commerce operator who is required to collect tax under section 52.
Hello.
In connection with section 10.1 and 10.2, there was also rule 7 of the CGST Act, which basically gives the rates of the reduced tax for different category of taxpayers who are registered under the composition levy. So if we look at the rule, there is this category of manufacturers who are required to pay 1%, so 0.5 CGST, SGST. Then second is the supplier of services. That was the only service which is mentioned under para 6B of Schedule 2 to the Act, which I just explained. That is basically the restaurant service where there is supply of service and goods related to foods and drinks both. The tax rate was 5%. And other than these two, if there is another third category, which is fulfilling the conditions of section 10.1 and 10.2, for such person, the tax rate was at the rate of 1%. Now that we have recapped the provision of section 10.1 and 10.2, there was a new section 10.2a, which came later on. And the change that section 10.2a brought was, it basically increased the ambit of section 10.1 and 10.2 and included services. Please recall, I just said that initially it was only goods except for the one kind of service that is covered under paragraph 6. Now, all kind of services were brought under the ambit of the composition levy. So basically, even a sole service provider was also allowed to, avail the benefit of the composition levy via section 10.2a. I've prepared a small roadmap which will give you the history of section 10.2a, that how it came into being. And this will actually help us understanding this notification 50 quite better. So via section 93 of the Finance Act 2019, this section 10.2a was introduced. On 7th March 2019, by notification number 2, there was a new rate and the conditions associated with the composition levy under section 10.2a that were given. So on the rate part, I will come later. First, I would like to walk you through the conditions in order to seek the benefit of composition levy under section 10.2a. So these are the conditions. First is that the turnover in the preceding financial year should be less than or equal to 50 lakhs. Then these two conditions are same as section 10.1.2, which is interstate supplies and exempt sales. Now, the fourth condition, it clearly says that such person should not be eligible to pay tax under section 10.1 and 10.2. So if you're already registered as a composition dealer under section 10.1 and 10.2, that is, you were dealing with goods. So other than that, there was such person who was not able to, take the benefit of section 10.1 and 10.2. So this 10.2 is for such persons, indirectly mean for those persons who are basically dealing with supply of services. Then it excluded a casual and non-resident taxable person, then supplied through e-commerce operator who is required to collect tax under section 52. Now there is a specific list of supplies, the services in relation to which cannot avail the benefit of the composition levy under section 10.2a. Those supplies are in the nature of ice cream, edible ice, pan masala, tobacco, and tobacco substitutes. Via notification number 18, which was released on 30th September 2019, this list was extended by including aerated water. So even an aerated water is included in the exclusion list, which is shown here. Finally, via notification number 1, which was released on 1st January 2020, the section 93 of the Finance Act, this one, was notified and section 10.2a came into being. Now, having explaining you all this roadmap of section 10.2a, let's understand what is there that that notification 50 has to tell us. Notification 50 has basically introduced the 7th Amendment rules with effect from 1st April 2020. If you look at this table here, earlier there were the tax rates mentioned related to section 10.1 and 10.2. The tax related to section 10.2a, which was introduced on 7th March 2019, was not forming part of the Act. So with the 7th Amendment rules coming into place, now this tax rate has become part of the Rule 7, which basically says not eligible for paying tax under section 10.1 and 10.2. That means for all the taxpayers who are registered registered as composition levy under section 10.2a, for those category, the tax rate that has been defined is 6%, 3% SGST, CGST. So basically, this is the revision that has been made to the rules. With this, I come to the end of the explanation, notification number 50. Let's move on further. I will divert a little and refer to the few circulars that have been released in the month of June and are very relevant. As Sunil ji had stated that this levy of GST and directors remuneration has been one of the mostly debated topics at many tax and legal forums. So finally, the CBIC White Circular 140 have given the clarification on 10th June 2020. So the circular has basically stated that in order to decide if the director's remuneration will come under the ambit of GST or not, we need to refer entry number 1 of the Schedule 3 to the CGST Act 2017. Now, the Schedule 3 to the CGST Act 2017, it is basically a list of those activities and transactions which are neither treated as supply of goods nor treated as supply of services. So basically such activities and transactions, they are non-GST supplies. They fall outside the ambit of GST. The entry number 1 of said schedule is any services which is given by an employee to the employer in the course or in relation to his employment. So basically wherever there is an employee and employer relationship existing, it will always fall outside the ambit of GST. Now, having this background in mind, the circular addressed two categories of directors. The first category of director are those who are the employees of the company, which includes your whole-time directors and MD. In this,
Aastha ji, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, मैं आपको
Yes, please.
आस्था जी, सॉरी आपको बीच में
Yeah, may I continue? Sumit ji, can I continue? Is everything okay?
आस्था जी आपके एंड पे बैकग्राउंड में कहीं पे YouTube पे ये रिकॉर्डिंग चल तो नहीं रही है?
नहीं, मेरे यहाँ नहीं चल रही है. Some other member, even I can hear my voice. So request all the members to please mute their mics. There is some echoing that is happening.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I'll continue. So like I was saying, that first category of directors that the circular addressed was those directors or employees of the company, which included your whole-time directors and MD. Now, there were two scenarios associated with such directors. The first is the directors, if they are being paid salary, which are subject to tax deduction under Section 192 of the Income Tax Act, then it's pretty evident that there is an employee and employee relationship between the director and the company. And hence, we can take reference to the entry 1 of the Schedule 3 of the CGST Act. And therefore, such transaction will lie outside the ambit of GST. The second scenario that the circular covered for this particular category of directors who are the employees of the company is those directors who are paid remuneration in some other capacity, say maybe technical or consultancy fees. So in this particular category, it is very clear that such director is being paid remuneration in his professional capacity, as for providing professional services. So in that case, the employee and employee relationship does not exist, and it will fall within the ambit of GST. We need not refer to the entry 1 of the Schedule 3. In fact, I will quickly recap and tell you that there was a notification released in the initial days of GST regarding the payment of tax on reverse charge mechanism by the recipient of the services. And if we refer to the entry number 6 of that notification, it says that any services supplied by a director of a company to the company, then in that case, the company is required to pay tax on reverse charge basis. So coming back to my slide, in this particular scenario, wherein directors are being paid remuneration in some other capacity where there is no employee and employee relationship, the GST will be borne by the company on reverse charge basis. The second category of directors that was addressed by this circular was of those directors who are not the employees of the company. And special emphasis was given to the independent directors, which have been defined under Section 149(6) of the Companies Act 2013. Now, if you recall the provisions of section 149(6), it gives a list of prerequisites that a director is required to fulfill in order to be eligible to become an independent director. So, and one of the conditions is given under section 149(6), clause E, subclause 1, which states that such director who wishes to become an independent director should not be an employee for a period of at least 3 financial years preceding the year of appointment. So if a company were to appoint its employee as an independent director, it will be a prima facie violation of the provisions of section 149(6). Having said that, therefore it can be construed that between an independent director and a company, there cannot be an employee or employer relationship. And hence, again, this transaction between the independent director and the company will fall within the ambit of GST, and it will be borne by the company on reverse charge mechanism basis, the notification that I just showed it to you just a few minutes back, on that basis. So this was a clarification which was long awaited by taxpayers, tax professionals alike, and given by the Circular 140 on 10th June 2020. Let's move on to the next circular. Now we'll be discussing the contents of Circular 139, which was released on 10th June 2020. This circular basically gave some clarification regarding refund. Now, before I make you understand what was the clarification given to us, let's go back in history and understand the circumstances which resulted in giving such clarification. On 18th November 2019, a principal circular 125 was released. This is a very landmark circular because it launched the electronic refund process of GST via form RFD01. If you can recall, before this process had come into place, the refund was done manually via form RFD01A, and with effect from 26 September 2019, this RFD01 was launched. Now, this was a very elaborate circular which gave the process and how the refund will be applied, what will be the different nuances and all. This circular touched upon 12 types of refunds. Out of those 12 types of refunds, there are 3 types of refunds related to the refund of the unutilized credit arising on account of exports without payment of tax, number 1. Number 2, supplies to the SEZ unit or developer without payment of tax. And number 3, accumulation due to inverted tax structure. As I said, this circular was also giving the process through which the refund was to be applied. So with regard to refund relating to these 3 circumstances, the circular gave the basis of claiming the refund of the unutilized credit. It said that whatever credit is reflecting in the form GSTR 2A of the refund applicant, that will be considered for the purpose of refund. However, it gave an option that if due to some reason certain credit is not reflecting in the form GSTR 2A, then in that case, the refund applicant has an option to upload self-attested copies of invoices along with the refund applicant. Now, eventually what happened? Later on, Circular 135 came on 31st March 2020. Before I tell you what was the change made by this circular, let me quickly refresh your memory regarding this Rule 36(4), which was released via notification 49/2019 on 9th October 19. Now, this particular rule basically gave us the formula for calculating that ITC, which is not reflecting in your GSTR 2A, but still has to be claimed. So the CBIC had capped the limit of the total ITC reflecting into a GSTR 2A, which will be related to the ITC that is not reflecting in GSTR 2A. Earlier, the limit fixed was 20%, but it was brought down to 10% via the 30th GST Council meeting. So to give you a small example to explain what this Rule 36(4) is all about, suppose in your form GSTR 2A, your credit reflecting is 100. Now there is a credit of additional credit of rupees 30, which is not reflecting in your GSTR 2A. So if I have to apply Rule 36(4), the eligible credit would be 100, which is reflecting in my GSTR 2A. plus 100 into 10%, which is the application of Rule 36(4). So my total availment will now be 110. So this 30 has been restricted to only rupees 10, which is 10% of the ITC reflecting in form GSTR 2A. Let me go back to my slide. So once this rule had come into place, a circular came on 31st March 2020, Circular 135, which revised the basis of calculating the refund of the unutilized credit arising on these three accounts. It said, now the basis of refund of the unutilized credit will be the ITC reflecting in the GSTR 2A of the applicant, and the supplier who has filed is GSTR 1. So basically, corresponding to GSTR 1, the credit will reflect in the GSTR 2 of the refund applicant. They had basically removed this option of uploading tax invoices with regard to that ITC, which was not reflecting in GSTR 2A. Now, with this circular coming in place, there was certain category of refund applicants which were aggrieved. I'll explain how. There is certain category of input tax credit which do not get reflected in your form GSTR 2A. Those are basically the IGST paid on imports, then your input tax credit related to your reverse charge mechanism, and input tax credit related to your input service distributor. In all these three instances, the credit is self-generated. There is no other person who has supplied you services and goods who will fill his GSTR 1, and eventually the ITC will reflect in GSTR 2A. So because in these particular instances, the ITC never gets reflected in the GSTR 2A. Moreover, when Rule 36(4) had come in, it was clarified by the CBIC that with regard to the ITC pertaining to these three instances, Rule 36(4) will not be applicable. This was clarified later by Circular number 123 released on 11th November 2019. Having said that, when Circular 135 came in, obviously that class of refund applicants who wanted to seek refund related to this ITC were aggrieved because their ITC will not reflect in the GSTR 2A, right? And they would not be able to apply for such refund. So to address the concern of such class of refund applicants, this Circular number 139 came, and it gave the clarification that in order to solve their problem, this option of uploading invoices with regard to the ITC which is not reflecting in GSTR 2A was restored. So now such applicants can upload the invoices for that credit which is not reflecting in the GSTR 2A and can go on and file the refund application. So this clarification was also very important to address the concern of such refund applicants, and this is what the circular stated. Next, we will go on to notification number 55, which was released very recently on 27th June 2020. This notification is basically a renewal of a previous notification 35, which was released on 3rd April 2020. So first I will explain you what was the content of notification number 35. Then we will go on to notification number 55. So notification number 35 basically stated that if there is any compliance date which falls between 20th March 2020 and 29 June 2020, so the new extended compliance date for all such compliances will become 30th June 2020. So they had defined the list of compliances. So from the perspective of GST department, the compliances related to the completion of the proceeding, passing of the order, issuance of notice, intimation, notification, issuance of sanction and approval. Okay. And from the perspective of the taxpayer, the compliances pertained to filing of the appeal, filing of reply, application, return, and report. So if there was any compliances related to these particular list, if they fell between the date 20th March and 29 June, their extended due date had become 30th June 2020. However, there were certain exclusions upon which this new date of 30th June was not applicable. This was the exclusion list. It's quite big. So all the deadlines related to chapter number 4, which is basically your time of supply of services and goods, Then the timeline related to the case wherein the aggregate turnover of a composite dealer crosses the limit. Then third was the time limit for the registration as per the provision of section 25. Fourth was the validity of the registration certificate given to a casual or taxable person, which is usually 60 days. Then fifth is the time limit for the issuance of invoice as per the provisions of section 31. Next was the time limit for filing GSTR 1 and time limit for filing returns under section 39. So for these two instances, there were separate notifications 51, 52, 54, which I have explained in the beginning of my slide. So this has already been addressed there and hence does not get included in notification 35 and 55. Going on further, we have the levy of the late fees, which has also been addressed in the notification number 57. Then next we have the payment of interest, again covered under notification 51 and 52. Next we have the dates related to the e-way bill. For e-way bill, the validity of the e-way bill was extended up till 30th June only by separate set of notifications. That's why it's not covered under this notification. Other than that, the power to arrest, liability of the firm's partner to pay tax, payment of penalties, detention, seizure and release of goods, etc. So in all these instances, the compliance date has not been extended to 30th June 2020. Now that we've understood the contents of the notification number 35, let's go on and understand the contents of notification number 55. It's a very easy change. They have basically extended this 29 June 2020 to 30th August 2020. So basically all these compliances which whose due date falls within the date 20th March 2020 to 30th August 2020, your new deadline of compliance will become 31st August 2020. So this 30th June date has become now 31st August 2020. The application of notification 55 is better understood with the help of case studies, which I'll be taking up in my coming slides. So in fact, there was circular 137, which was released on 13th April 2020. And there was a circular number 138, which was released on 6th May 2020. They had given some case studies as an application to circular number 35, which now can be extended to circular number 55. So notification number 55. So I'm covering 4 to 5 scenarios so that you get a better clarity with respect to the application of this notification 55. First scenario is with regard to a deductor of tax under section 51 of the CGST Act 2017. Now, any person who is required to deduct tax under section 51, that person is required to file the return under GSTR 7 along with the deposit of the tax within 10 days of the end of the month of which the tax has been deducted. Now, if the compliance range, if it falls between the 20th March and 30th August, then automatically all the due dates for the months from March to July would be extended. Sorry, I need to go back to the previous. Will be extended to 31st August. So to give you an example, for the month of April, my due date of filing GSTR 7 was 10th May. Now 10th May falls between 20th March 2020 and 30th August 2020. Therefore, I can file it till 31st August 2020. Next scenario that we have is in the form of an applicant, any person who wants to file his refund application as per the provisions of section 54 of the CGST Act. If we recall the provisions of section 54 of the CGST Act, the section 54 states that the refund application has to be filed within 2 years from the relevant date, which is defined in the section 54, depending upon the nature of the refund that you have to do. So if your 2 years are lapsing between 20th March 2020 and 30th August 2020, then the refund application can be easily filed up till the date of 31st August 2020. In fact, in case of one of our clients, that person was an exporter of services and he wanted to, file the refund for the unutilized credit. And due to some reason or the other, he was not getting his FIRC from the banker, which is one of the requirement of filing the refund application. And I was worrying till 28 June, we had no news from the banker. So this is a very welcome change for all those applicants who wanted to file for refund, but were not able to do so because of some practical difficulties. So now this refund can be filed till 31st August 2020. Next scenario that we have is in the case of those suppliers who supply goods at a reduced rate of 0.01% to a merchant exporter. Now, if you recall the provisions of the CGST in this regard, one of the conditions for supplying goods at a reduced rate of tax is that the goods have to be exported within 90 days of the date of the tax invoice. This was initially given via notification 40, which was released on 23rd October 2017. Okay, and this, if the 90 days condition is not met, then this tax rate will not be applicable. It will be there are certain implications of the same. So if your 90 days were lapsing between the 20th March 2020 and 30th August 2020, then your compliance date would automatically go until 31st August 2020. This is a very practical relief that has been given by the CBIC, because due to coronavirus pandemic, the export of goods was badly impacted. There was hardly any, movement. So it wasn't practically possible to, export the goods within the 90 days from the date of invoice due to limitation in the movement. So to address that concern, they have given that extension, and now it has been done till 31st August 2020. Next in the scenario, we have scenario number 4 with regard to those taxpayers who are required to file form number ITC04. So if you are a principal and you are required to give goods to a job worker for processing and then get them back, such registered taxpayer is required to file form ITC04 on a quarterly basis within 25 days from the end of the quarter. It basically contains the detail of the goods that have been sent to the job worker contained in a delivery challan, and the goods that have been received, the processed goods that have been received back from the job worker. So in that particular case, now there are just 2 quarters, quarter 4 of 2019-20, for which the due date was 25th April 2020, and quarter 1 2021, for which the due date of filing ITC04 is 25th July 2020. Now, since both of these due dates fall within the period 20th March 2020 to 30th August 2020, therefore the ITC04 can be easily filed till 31st August 2020. This is also a very practical relief, given again that the movement is so restricted within the coronavirus due to lockdown in different states. So at some state, it might be a possibility that the goods might have not reached, they might be in transit. So it was not possible to give that whole detail of under ITC04. So now it has been extended till 31st August 2020. Next in the case studies, I'll be referring to those exporters who are basically exporting services without the payment of IGST. As you all must be aware that such exporter is required to file a letter of undertaking under RFD 11 for a financial year. This is an annual compliance. It is done usually in the beginning of the financial year, and that letter of undertaking is applicable, and it is valid for an entire financial year. What they have stated is that the letter of undertaking, which has been filed for financial year 1920, its validity has been extended till 31st August 2020. So even if the exporter of services who is not paying GST on export of services has not filed the letter of undertaking for financial year 2021, then it's okay, it's all right. The letter of undertaking, which was originally filed for 1920, will hold good, and it will be valid till the date of 31st August 2020. Indirectly, the LUT for financial year 2021 can be easily filed up till 31st August 2020. Now let's go on to the next topic. Now, basically, this is my last set of notifications that I'll be covering. So notification 38 and 44, I will be reading it together because they are related. So on wide notification 38, which came on 5th May 2020, there was these GST Fifth Amendment rules which were released, and I will first address the contents of notification number 38. The first issue that this notification addressed was that all the companies and LLBs were now finally allowed to file their form GSTR 3B using the electronic verification code for all the filing that was to be done between 21st April and 30th June 2020. Before this notification had come in place, the companies and LLPs were allowed to file the form GSTR 3B only using a digital signature certificate. They were not given the option to file the returns using the electronic verification code. And the second, for this, basically, they had proposed to include second proviso to the Rule 26. The second aspect that this notification addressed was the filing of the nil GSTR 3B using SMS cum OTP facility. And in this, they had clarified that a nil return will be basically which has absolutely no entry in the return. So this was only applicable for GSTR 3B. And for this, Rule 67A was proposed to be inserted in the CGST rules. With effect from 8 June 2020, the second aspect was notified via notification number 44. Now, I will request all of you to keep this in mind because this is related to my next slide. On wide notification 48, which was released very recently on 19 June 2020, GST 6th Amendment rules came into place. Now, if you recall my previous slide, I had said that the companies and LLPs were allowed to file the form GSTR 3B using EVC when the filing date was between 21st April to 30th June. By GST 6th Amendment rules, this date has been extended now to 30th September 2020. This is the first change. And the second change that they have introduced by these amendment rules is that the companies and LLPs can now also file the GSTR 1 as well using the EVC, where the filing is to be done between 27th May and 30th September 2020. This was done by introducing second proviso to the Rule 26 of the CGST rules, and this was notified with effect from 27th May 2020, wide notification 48 dated 19 June 2020. Next is this very recent notification which was released day before yesterday, which gave the GST 8th Amendment rules. Now the filing of the nil GSTR 3B, you can also file a nil GSTR 1. So earlier it was only nil GSTR 3B, wide notification 38. Now they have extended the ambit and decided to include GSTR 1 using the SMS cum OTP facility. This was done by amending the Rule 67A of the CGST Rule 2017. With this, I come to end of my presentation. I would like to thank everyone for giving it such a patient hearing. And I hope I've been able to justify the utility of your time. And I hope this presentation has been useful to all the members of the MTBA and the listeners. If there are any queries, I'll be open to answer them.
Astaji, pleasure is ours, and very illustrative and informative presentation, and equally eloquent explanation of provisions. I am only reminded of a quote that the three things to aim at public speaking: first to get your subject, get into your subject, then to get your subject into yourself, and last to get your subject into the heart of your audience. So I truly felt that way when you were speaking.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
If we have any queries, we can take.
सुमित जी,
Yes, sir.
इसके अंदर आस्था जी ने बहुत बढ़िया एलोब्रेट किया है सारे नोटिफिकेशंस को. इसमें दो बात और मैं थोड़ा सा आस्था जी से दो बात ऐड करूंगा और एक बात पूछूंगा आस्था जी से.
जरूर.
इसके अंदर जो नोटिफिकेशन नंबर 57 है 57, उसके अंदर अगर इन्होंने लिखा है नोटिफिकेशन शैल बी डीम्ड टू हैव इफेक्ट फ्रॉम 25 जून. अब उसके अंदर 27 जून हमारी मई की लास्ट डेट थी, तो अगर बिटवीन हमने कोई 250 रुपए से एक्सेस जमा कराया है, उसका रिक्रेडिट भी मिलेगा मेरे हिसाब से.
हाँ, होना तो यही चाहिए. If you go by that logic, correct. Right, 250 upper limit ही है मेरी late fees की. हाँ जी.
And second, जो ऑर्डर नंबर 01 है,
हाँ जी,
रिमूवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टीज का जो रजिस्ट्रेशन का, इसमें मेंबर्स से मेरा सबसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि इसके अंदर जो जो रजिस्ट्रेशन रिवोकेशन है, जो कैंसिलेशन की पावर है 29(2) में A to E 5 क्लॉजेज हैं।
हाँ जी,
अब इन्होंने सिर्फ बी एंड सी
दो के।
सिर्फ रिटर्न्स के लिए किया है, जो आसानी जी ने बताया है।
हाँ
तो इस
जी,
बात का ध्यान रहे कि रजिस्ट्रेशन सबका ब्लैंकेट एग्जामिशन नहीं दे दी है आपको कि ब्लैंकेट आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन रिवोकेशन हो जाएगा, सब्जेक्ट टू द रिटर्न फाइलिंग है
हाँ जी, करेक्ट
ना। तो
करेक्ट
अच्छा,
करेक्ट।
थर्ड रास्ता जी आपसे ये पूछ रहा हूँ कि गवर्नमेंट ने इतना सब कुछ
वेबिनार चल रही है, ऑफिस में हूँ
बंसल जी अपना आवाज बंद कर दें जरा।
जी।
बंसल जी फोन बंद कर दें प्लीज।
अभी 6:30 तक खत्म हो जाएगी।
हेलो, हाँ
हाँ जी,
मेरे गवर्नमेंट ने सारी एक्सटेंशन दे दी कि जुलाई 17 से लेके जून 20 तक की सारी रिटर्न भर दीजिए। 3 वीक गवर्नमेंट इज गेटिंग द टैक्स।
करेक्ट।
व्हाट अबाउट द आईटीसी? व्हाट अबाउट द आईटीसी?
हाँ जी,
कैस्केडिंग इफेक्ट, अगर जिसने 3 वीक टैक्स जमा नहीं कराया, आई एम नॉट गेटिंग द आईटीसी, तो
करेक्ट।
डबल टैक्सेशन, तो जीएसटी के अगेंस्ट द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ जीएसटी है ये तो।
I
cascading
totally, it's
effect।
like unjust enrichment. It's totally agreed. I think इस पे भी कुछ clarification आना चाहिए CBIC का। इनफैक्ट मेरा तो ये भी है कि the lot of ऐसे हमारे कुछ क्लाइंट्स हैं जिन्होंने पहले ही रिटर्न फाइल कर दी थी विद लेट फीस।
Yes.
थोड़ा पता था कि ऐसा कोई हमारा मतलब वेवर ऐसा आएगा बाद में।
पर 24
हाँ।
ये 27 जून उसके बीच का नहीं मिलेगा। इस नोटिफिकेशन 57 का नोटिफिकेशन क्लियर है
हाँ
कि
जी।
आपको 25 जून से इफेक्टिव किया है। नोटिफिकेशन को
Correct.
इफेक्ट जो उन्होंने 25 जून से किया है,
Correct,
you will
correct.
not get the benefit of 25।
I
अगर आपने
agree.
25 जून से पहले कोई लेट फीस जमा करी है, यू विल नॉट गेट द रिक्रेडिट।
वही तो मतलब वो उनको लग रहा है कि हमने ऐसी वेट करी, हम भी वेट कर लेते शायद हमें भी बेनिफिट मिल जाता। देयर इज नो रिफंड मैकेनिज्म फॉर देम। क्लाइंट्स हमारी जान खा रहे हैं, आपने हमारा लेट फीस सबमिट करा दिया और अब हम
गवर्नमेंट
पे भी कर
लेट देना
दिया।
जानती है, देना नहीं जानती है।
हाँ ये तो है।
सर अभी एसओचएम ने एक वो भेजा था कि एक मेरे पास आया था, क्वेश्चन आया कि एनी सजेशन यू वांट टू गिव टू द गवर्नमेंट। तो मैंने आपकी वाली बात ही करी थी कि अनइंटेंडेडली द गवर्नमेंट इज एक्चुअली एनकरेजिंग पीपल हु आर नॉट कंप्लायंट। पहले एमनेस्टी स्कीम आई एक्साइज और सर्विस टैक्स की, फिर इनकम टैक्स की अभी चल रही है, और अब ये जीएसटी लेट फीस की एमनेस्टी स्कीम आई। तो समवेयर द गवर्नमेंट विल हैव टू डिवाइज इट्स वेज इन अ मैनर दैट शुरू में ही जो कंप्लायंस है वो बर्डनसम ना हो, जिससे बाद में उसको वेव ऑफ ना करना पड़े।
टोटली अग्री।
सुमित जी, अगर आपने इसके अंदर कोई भेजा है, मेमोरेंडम भेज रहे हो, तो उसमें एक बात और ऐड कर लें, जो 2 ईयर की आपकी लेट वो जो 2 इयर्स रिफंड की डेट है, उसकी कंप्लायंस की जो अगर इन्होंने मार्च की 17-18 की डेट मार्च 19 फरवरी 19 कर दी थी, 2 साल अगर जब हमने आईजीएसटी जमा करा दिया, सीजीएसटी या सीजीएसटी से आईजीएसटी में कन्वर्ट कर रहे हैं, तो उसका रिफंड भी 2 साल के अंदर लिमिटेशन की वो अलाउ होना चाहिए।
सर आपका बहुत रेलेवेंट पॉइंट है, एंड आई हैव पर्सनली सेंट a 2-pager representation to chairman CBIC and the finance ministry. As soon as we end this, I will share it on the group. I hope, and मैंने उसको फिर ट्वीट भी करा है। आई होप उस पर कुछ एक्शन हो, क्योंकि ये बहुत लोगों का इश्यूज है। एज ऑडिटर हमने जीएसटी में बहुत सारे ऐसे इश्यूज निकाले और विद इंटरेस्ट हमने दूसरा वाला लेग टैक्स का जमा करा दिया, और अब उनके सबके रिफंड रिजेक्ट हो रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ द 2 ईयर लिमिटेशन। सो दैट्स व्हाट आई वाज टेलिंग कि जो लोग कंप्लायंट हैं, अपनी गलती ढूंढ के उस पर टैक्स जमा करा रहे हैं, उनके तो डबल टैक्स जा रहा है, और जो लोग कंप्लायंट नहीं है उनके लिए एमनेस्टी स्कीम्स आ रही हैं।
Correct. And it becomes very difficult to convince the client to follow the compliances. वो बोलते हैं extension आ जाएगी, amnesty scheme आ जाएगी, आप क्यों हमें force कर रहे हो? तो हम compliant हो ना हो, थोड़ा वो tricky situation हो जाता है बहुत।
और कोई क्वेरी अगर है तो हम ले सकते हैं इसको। राइट, आस्था जी आपसे एक रिक्वेस्ट है, ये प्रेजेंटेशन कुछ 1-2 स्लाइड मैंने भी मिस कर दी, तो इफ यू कैन शेयर द प्रेजेंटेशन।
Sure, absolutely. In fact, what I'll do is I have the entire deck for changes from April itself. तो मैं दोनों क्लब करके दे दूंगी, so that you have a 3 months का पूरा आपके पास एक brief हो।
मैं यूपी टैक्स बार एसोसिएशन के एग्जीक्यूटिव मेंबर और हमारे एक्स प्रेसिडेंट श्री अरुण गुप्ता जी से रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा हूँ कि वो क्लोजिंग कमेंट्स अपने दें, एंड लेट्स and take this towards a conclusion.
धन्यवाद सुमित जी। अच्छा जी, महानगर टैक्स बार के लिए आपने अपना समय स्पेयर किया, इसके लिए आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने मोर देन 50 नोटिफिकेशंस के बारे में, इवन उनसे रिलेटेड जितने भी पुराने नोटिफिकेशन थे उनको भी एक बार रिवाइज करा दिया, जिससे हम सभी मेंबर्स की सारी मेमोरी रिवाइज हो गई। आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से सारी नोटिफिकेशन को एलोबरेट करके समझाया, और उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप महानगर के लिए आगे भी हमें समय देती रहेंगी, जब भी लोग आपको किसी भी मीटिंग के लिए बुलाएंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच सभी मेंबरों को, और आस्था जी का पुनः एक बार धन्यवाद।
Thank you. It was my honor to be associated, and I hope the association remains for the upcoming future as well. Is there any help, any contribution required? I would be happily to be associated.